All right, so let me ask you, like, what? I think this is something I'm gonna start asking everybody. Like, what is an optimal day for you look like? Like, what is an optimal day?
Yeah.
And I haven't answered this up myself, so I'm not asking on the spot.
I've actually, yeah, I'm pretty good. 4 a.m. wake up, get out of bed, jump out of bed.
So why 4?
So far that one has allowed me enough time to accomplish everything that I want, and I don't feel like I need to get up any earlier than that.
And how many hours of sleep in general?
So I'm in bed by 8:30.
Okay.
Probably asleep by 9.
Okay.
So what is that? That's 7 hours. Yeah, so 7 hours of sleep is definitely optimal for me. I don't think I need more than that, and I can operate with less, but I don't feel like I don't have that many commitments that I can't get 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Up at 4, and I go back and forth, but I'm actually the sharpest mentally first thing in the morning, which I know is not always the case for a lot of people. But so I actually prefer wake up at 4, have a cup of coffee, and I like to get 3 hours of work done, from 4:30 to 7:30, before the sun even comes up.
So can I just throw something at you? So I was just listening to it was on the Lex Friedman podcast. He's a programmer. I can't remember the program. He was talking about it was just an idea that I'm like, he tried. I can't remember the name of it, but like he'd go to sleep at 9. He'd wake up at like 2 a.m. Stay at work for 3 hours. Go back to bed. Wake up somewhat,
Yeah.
maybe like an hour or 2 later than whatever.
Yep.
And then he'd wake up again, he's like, apparently whatever there's a name for it, but it's maximizing production. Like you said, the first 3 hours are your most. He's getting that twice.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep. Jim Collins, the guy that wrote Good to Great, I've heard him on a podcast say very similar things, and he's got a creative career where he's allows him to play around with his daily schedule, where he knows, I know when my best writing windows are, and then I'll get up to execute on those writing windows, and then I'll go back to sleep. I mean, he'll take a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day. Not everybody can do that, but he's learned his rhythms and cycles. I mean, I am very blessed to be able to structure my day the way that I want to structure it, and that's another reason that I think a lot of people are kind of railing against your standard capitalist environment, because the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, I understand from a production standpoint, is good for business, but it's not optimal for a lot of people.
Right.
So yeah, if I can get from 4:30 to 7:30, cranking out all my emails, writing the proposal or the task that I need to definitely get done for that day. If I can get all of that done by first 3 hours in the day, then I go exercise from 7:30 to 9. So,
But not to interrupt you, but this path that we've been on, like just that sleep thing I just mentioned to you, I hear that and I'm like, I wonder how that'd be. Is what I've been doing, would that be a more optimal way?
Yeah.
It's constantly challenging your thoughts and your
Right.
ideas on what is best, and that's where this pursuit leads you.
Yeah.
Which is such a great place to be.
right.
So,
Right.
Yeah. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I mean, this is working for me right now. At some point, it could get stale just because things go stale.
Right.
I mean, I believe in, decay. I mean, I think that's kind of the nature of the natural world, which
Right.
is things can collect moss and dust and go stale. So, 7:30 to 9, I can get 10 miles in pretty easily. Right? Yeah.
7:30 to 9.
Yeah, 10 miles in. And again, I have a flexible schedule. This is kind of COVID related, but also self-employed related. But, I can go out for a run, come back, not even shower, just sit in my gym clothes and be right back at the desk at 9 o'clock, if there's work calls or whatever. Not eat a thing until, actually, to be honest, my most optimal day is I don't eat anything until 2. So I just work from 9 to 2. I feel if I start eating at noon, then I am kind of a little bit more hungry from noon to 5 or 6.
It's funny how that is.
Yeah, and then it's like breaking the seal. People joke when you're at a party and you're drinking. It's like you can go 4 hours, but the second you break that seal, it's like you got to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And eating is for me is similar.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And the more I've done this stuff, the more I've kind of, like I'm amazed. Like I'll have like I'll give into that. I'll have a big swim in the morning, and I'll come back and I'm like, I need something, and I'll have something. I'll cave into that.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I've had 5 snacks.
Yeah, and then you're just snacky all day, and the
like
longer I can push that off, the more productive I am
Right.
for the task at hand.
Well, when you said before, like you're sitting at your computer thinking about being hungry. Well, that happens more when I eat.
Yes, it totally does.
When
I don't.
eat.
I'm sure there's science behind that, but it is. I know that if I have breakfast, like on a normal day, I'm hungry all day.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about it all day long.
Yeah.
Now, granted, when I'm fasting, it comes to mind,
Yeah.
but it doesn't distract me
Right.
in a way that.
Right. So if I get to noon and I'm feeling peckish and I'm like I'm hungry, then I'll eat. You know, I won't. But if I get to noon and I haven't even thought about food and I'm just focused on the task at hand, I just keep going. And
No.
sometimes that turns into 1 meal a day. But normally around 2 or 3, I need, and I try and have a light break, fast break. You know, when I decide to start eating, I prefer to, you know, eat something small.
So let's step back though, because this whole thing, as a new podcaster, I'm like, oh, I'm loving this line of questioning, because it's on a timeline. So your 10-mile run, what's that optimal run? Is it pushing yourself hard? You know what I mean? Like how hard? Like if you're trying to think of like an optimal day, like is it just a smooth, comfortable run, let your mind go, or is it I'm pushing myself to my limits where I'm getting done and I'm huffing and puffing? And I know
yeah.
day to day,
Right.
obviously that
Right.
varies. But if we're talking like perfect
Well,
day,
like I said before, I feel like my optimal week is a 100-mile week. So the objective of that week, so if that is a 10-mile run on a 100-mile week, the objective of that day is just to get the miles. And so your zone 2, light heart rate, steady pace, consistent pace. I mean, that's probably one of my biggest things, and maybe I overfocus on pace, but if I'm going out to run 10 or 15 miles in a day for 7 days, I'm happier when I had a consistent pace, regardless of what it is.
Right.
9:30, 9:15, 8. I'm happier if it's consistent, because that, for me, that demonstrates that I'm locked in, I'm paying attention to stride, I'm intentional. So I'm not like lost in thought, so I go from a 9:15 to a 10, and then all of a sudden you look at your watch, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm barely moving. So it's...
for me, an optimal run is not that.
Really?
It's negative split.
Okay, down.
That I'm getting,
That you're getting progressively faster? Yeah.
and yeah. Like if I'm talking about my optimal run,
Right.
where it's like I'm getting into, like I'm starting off and I'm just, I always want to, for me, I'm always, at the beginning of my run, I've told myself, first mile, first 2, just go by feel.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
whatever the pace is going to be, the pace is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that gets me to that spot of comfort.
Yeah.
The spot of where I want to be in the run
Yeah.
faster. And I know there's days where it's going to be a smooth first. Like
Yeah.
the ebbs and flows of that.
Right.
So I just let the first couple miles happen.
Right.
And then I get into a zone and I start noticing my pace drop. And it doesn't always have to be a negative split, but if I'm talking about my best run,
Yeah.
and then at the end, like now I'm getting towards the end of my run and I've got something that's like, oh, I want to push it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah.
Like
I call it a tank check. I've been doing that lately.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you do 20 miles and you were keeping a pace that you thought was kind of pushing it, and then the last 2 miles you're like, all right, what did I have left? And I do a
Right.
tank check, and that's where I end up with like these 6-minute miles, because you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. Like I had plenty
Right.
of gas in the tank.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about an optimal run, like I would say that's
Yeah, but this is, so I'm gonna try that. Like I'm like, okay, because in my mind, like if you get back from a run, you're like, man, that was a great run. I picked a distance and I picked a pace and I stuck to it. That's the best feeling.
But
for me
I'll
right
even
now.
challenge that too.
Yeah.
Why I'm loving this line of question.
Yeah.
That optimal run, I didn't look at my watch once, and I got done. And I looked at my watch like, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
I was dropping down in time. I
Yeah.
went faster, or I held a nice pace, and then look at me at the end.
Yeah, see,
Like-
I think I'm overly focused on pace. I'm checking on constantly.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but I'm saying.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing.
But if you, wouldn't that be a more optimal run? At the end, you look back and you saw the pace. Like you did all the things you wanted to do
Yep.
at pace,
Yep.
but you didn't ever have to
Think about
check it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I do feel that when, so 9:15, 9:10 to 9:15 on really long runs seems to be my sweet spot right now.
Yep.
And I love that when you'll go 3 miles and then you'll check in, you're like, man, I was like dead on. Like I was
Right.
just right there.
Right.
That's very rewarding, you know, and as opposed to those days where you're just constantly looking at your watch like, I'm a little bit off, but that, and I don't know, I that's why I like 100-mile weeks. I just feel like I focus more on just getting miles in and planning my day to get miles in, which I like.
Right.
So, you know, I got my 10 in the morning to get me to 9 o'clock.
And part of the reason sorry to keep
Yeah.
interrupting, part of the reason I asked that though, because that, how that run goes has, like if I push myself pretty hard, there is a part of me like, I know if I don't eat anything, you know, I won't be thinking about food as much. But what is often, you know, I have just burned a considerable amount of calories, and I don't want to be you know, I want muscle gain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what's the best recovery?
Yeah.
And I'm never that's the thing I'm not.
Right.
I'm still like, where is that? Because I want to be a better runner. I need to be a better, stronger. If I'm operating in a place where I'm constantly in a negative calorie deficit, I've gained in my mental strength, but I've lost. I might be losing
Yeah.
muscle mass
Right.
and
I-
structure. So
That's a fun one to play around with because I can find you something on the internet right now from very highly reputable sources that says you should consume calories immediately after the workout, and others that are
Right.
going to document with evidence that you shouldn't. And so again, it goes back to what is optimal for you. What makes you feel the best? I know eating in my, not wavering too much on my fasting window is optimal for me.
yeah.
Am I sacrificing
Completely agree.
nutrient and caloric, you know, issues by doing that? Maybe, but it's not just for me. And that's the other thing. It's not just optimal for the run. It's optimal for life. So
Well,
that,
and optimal for a backyard ultra.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
that's short term, you know, in the year.
yeah,
Something we're trying to get. So,
right.
So that crowds into my thinking too.
Yeah, yeah, and I've got my confidence in exerting myself regardless of what I've consumed has gone up, which I think is important, right? I remember very clearly I honestly remember in college, I would skip workouts because I didn't think that I had eaten properly. Either I was too close to a meal, or I'm like, oh well, it's 5 o'clock in the day, and I haven't eaten enough, and this is just gonna be a lousy workout, so I might as well skip it. Now it doesn't matter if I ate poor, great, a lot, a little. I know I can go out and execute on that run, regardless of my nutrition plan, and that's a benefit. That's a benefit to consistency, you know, because you're like, well, there's no excuse now.
Right.
You know, I can eat fast, I can run fasted, I can run full. 2 years ago, I went for a 50-mile run right after Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, it was uncomfortable, but I did it, and I never would have done that, you know, had I not been on this journey.
And it's funny because we're talking about optimal, right? Because of like this backyard ultra we're gonna do, I'm constantly like thinking, I feel really uncomfortable right now. This is the worst time to run. I should go for a run.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost trying
Yeah.
to be suboptimal and then run, because I know I'm going to be in this environment where everything's going to be
Right.
out of whack.
And I think there's times to do that. There's
Yeah.
no doubt times to do that. So Sunday, Sunday after a long Christmas weekend, I had the kids. I usually am pretty, depleted after having the kids. You just get tired. Drop the kids off, and I had a choice. I could go to the gym or go straight home. And it just was one of those things where I was like, I know unequivocally that if I go to the gym, no matter what effort I put in, I'm going to feel better than if I skip the gym. So I just went. You just go and do it. And those things stack up. That's the other thing, is the compounding benefits of these things. They stack up over time, because you'll feel like that once a week at a minimum, if not 3-4 times a week. And if you're skipping workouts or you're deviating from your nutrition plan because you don't feel good,
It stacks the other way.
yeah. So in a 300-day year, 150 of those days you might have just completely bailed out, because you just didn't, stick to it. So
you've had your meal.
yeah, I'm
2 o'clock, you said?
yeah, I'll eat something between noon and 2. A couple of eggs or a handful of nuts, so something to break the fast, and
Usually kind of protein based.
yeah, fat or protein based.
Right.
Yeah, no carbs. I mean, my optimal day right now is keto, no carbs, other than in green leafy vegetables. That's it.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, I mean, on a normal day, if I prioritize my work normally, I'm done by 4 or 5. I put in a lot of effort in work. That's why I think those first 3 hours of the day are so important to me. I mean, it's amazing what you can do if you take a 9-hour work, 8-hour work day from 9 to 5, and more than half of that you're putting out fires, responding to calls, on conference calls. You're not actually doing a lot of work.
Right.
By most people's kind of standard career, I think that's very common. From 4:30 to 7:30, I can get so much uninterrupted work done that the rest of the day I can kind of manage crises, issues, respond to things when they come up, and I'm not like behind on this proposal that's got to go through by 5 o'clock. So 4 or 5, I'm usually shutting down, and that's when I go to the gym. So an optimal day is always some sort of muscular strength, calisthenics and running, and then normally, I'm in the gym for 45 minutes to an hour, and on a heavy 100-mile week, I'm going to finish with another 5 miles that day. I mean, I actually prefer at least 2 runs in a day. I feel like it's great some days when I wake up and I'm like, I'm just going to get this 15 or 18 or 20 out, get it done, and then your brain goes on autopilot for the rest of the day. That's fine. That's good sometimes. I like this day that I'm describing to you. I like the most, and so go to the gym, do another 5 miles, which is that's the other thing about doing all these heavy miles is that's not a hard task. 5 miles, that's 45 minutes at most. It's a down and back. It's kind of just a way to finish the day. And then that usually gets me in around 6:30. Cook dinner. I love to cook. I love to cook. It's probably the highlight of the day. And I'll usually either have food in the refrigerator or I'll go to the grocery store, pick out what I'm going to eat for that day, which is not hard. It's a steak and a salad. And eat dinner. I watch shows probably from 7 to 8. I've been watching New Girl for the last 2 years. It's 7 seasons. I've gone through all 7 seasons probably 6 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which we could talk about that. I saw a thing about people with high anxiety that watch the same show over and over again because you don't like surprises. You don't like anything new. You kind of like that comfort zone. I mean, this is how deep this gets when you start thinking about comfort. There's something comforting to me to knowing exactly what's going to happen, and I know the characters. I don't have to focus on the backstory. I'm just kind of in this little comfort bubble. But I allow myself to have that sometimes. So I'll watch the show from 7 to 8, and then I usually turn the TV off downstairs, go upstairs, and I'm either on my phone, Instagram or, whatever, watch the same show, and then I'm out, lights out at 8:30. And then the best weeks are when I get up and I do that 5 days in a row.
So I'm gonna blow everything up on you.
Okay.
It's interesting that you picked a work week, not a weekend, a weekday. Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting you didn't mention your kids, because I'm pretty sure an optimal day would have your kids in it. And I'd say that's probably priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it didn't come up when you're thinking optimal.
Right.
Which is interesting.
But I have an explanation for that.
Please
Right.
don't take it as any kind of criticism. I'm
Right.
just because
Right.
I think I would think, if somebody asked me how optimal, I would go to a work week, and I'd talk about all these things. But if somebody told me the rest of my life that's going to be my life, I can walk into that optimal day for the rest of my life. It's oh no, I want my kids there all day long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be number one. The kids, my wife, that's what I want.
Right.
To be optimal.
Right.
But it's just an interesting thing I'm thinking as I'm listening
Yeah.
to you. So if you throw in that optimal day, where the you answer it.
Right. So, I mean, the other thing is, and I recognize, because I spend a lot of time talking about parenting. It's something I'm really passionate about. I'm very passionate about my kids, and I know the struggle that a lot of parents have. And we talk about this all the time. I mean, I can't even count how many times I'll be in a business meeting, and people will find out that I have teenage girls, and their first response is, "Oh my gosh, that must be hell." You know, it just floors me. It's the answer. It's what everybody, and whether they're joking or not, but that is, and as opposed to, oh my gosh, what a delight that is. Like, lucky you. Like, to be a parent of a teenage girl, to be a father of a teenage girl is such a blessing and rare opportunity. Good for you. That's never the response.
Right.
So I'm very passionate about parenting, but I am willing to acknowledge the fact that because I'm divorced and because we share, we split time, I get an entire week where I can, and I say that's my optimal day because that's the week when I don't have the kids that I make sure I'm getting ahead. Because I know the weeks that I have my kids, I'm going to sacrifice a lot of that optimal day for them. So, now, because you didn't ask me what day I enjoy the most, it's what day is optimal for me. And so I have been able to create an environment where drop the kids off Sunday night, I'm not getting them again until Sunday the next day, and I can have this day 7 days in a row, and I love it. If I pick the kids up on Sunday and I've done that 7 days in a row, I'm ready to bring them to school in the morning, be at their basketball games from 2 to 5, sacrifice my run, sacrifice that extra 3 hours of work in the morning. I know I'll get back to it the next week, and so an optimal month or an optimal life absolutely has prioritizing kids in there over everything else, for sure.
But like if I took your day and said, so you're 2 o'clock when you're going to grab something to eat, and you're going to sit down and have a debate with Sophia for 20 minutes. Like just talking about some deep, random topic that she's interested in. That day's more optimal than the day you described, right?
That's a good. I mean, I have to spend some time on this one because I have a different. I'm just coming at it from a different definition of optimal.
Well, right, and I'm thinking along.
Right.
I would answer very much the way you did. It just has me thinking. It's like, well,
so I get less accomplished on the weeks that I have the kids.
But is getting more accomplished optimal? Right.
Yeah, and that's. I mean,
getting the most out of your day. I know you like to focus on the misery.
Yeah.
But there's the comfort that like being a father and achieving something, like helping my daughter figure out something that she was kind of struggling with.
Yeah.
Like that maybe I'm sacrificing some of my optimal for their optimal.
Yeah.
But
My best days are the days I have with my kids.
Right.
I can tell you that. Are they optimal for the specific objectives that I have for my athletic and professional pursuits? I don't think so, but that's okay. I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, we talk a lot about,
Yeah.
and you and I know, think about like balance a lot, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so like thinking about that in terms of optimal, it's like giving to them and helping them grow too makes me better too.
But yeah, so if I'm being honest though, putting in that work on that non-kid optimal day expands my capacity to be present and patient with them when I do have them. Right. And so I'm not going to say that day isn't just as important, because I mean that's what I've come to learn. I'm a better parent because I took time for myself. I invested in myself for personal growth, which allows me to then reciprocate and provide for them. And so, and this is where I acknowledge with parents that are 24/7, their house is on fire, they're going from soccer event to Wendy's drive-through, both parents, hair on fire, straight out.
Or even single parent.
Yeah, exactly. And I recognize that is one of the most difficult things we do. And that can lead to the resentment of your kids. That's why adult men will say, "Oh, my teenage girls are a nightmare," because they're equating it to this kind of persistent, constant chaos that they have to deal with. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, I've been forced into this environment, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
Right.
But you can, I gotta be careful what I say, but I think you can have a plan with your partner to say, hey, these things are really important to me, and if I accomplish them, it grows my capacity to serve and give back to you. So if we can work out a schedule that allows me to fill myself up so that I can then pour into your cup, and vice versa, you know, both partners will be better off because of that, as opposed to everybody being depleted all the time.
Right.
And so I think that's really important, and our structure doesn't allow us to do that often. You know, I have a lot of close friends that are, I just feel like, maxed out and not prioritizing themselves, which is ultimately handicapping their ability to be present and functional for their kids.
It's a flaw in the question too, right? I mean, like you said, you're making yourself better for tomorrow, right? Like, I'm not gonna have the kids today, so I'm gonna optimize today, so that then it's gonna balance. You know, like the pleasure with the kids,
Yeah.
the enjoyment there. If you took it and balanced it with the day of pushing hard,
Yeah,
those two things are in balance with each other,
Yep.
right? And find that balance.
yeah,
If this day is too soft and that day's too soft, well,
Right.
it's starting to stack in that
Yeah.
negative direction.
Yeah.
Where if I can go a little hard this way and then a little bit low this way, that I'm striking that balance.
I've gotten way better at doing that, and that's been very successful.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a major key to being able to do that.
Yeah, but what I find interesting just about that, I'm glad I asked you about this, because it's just like that. It is where we're at in this mind space, and why we're pursuing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just because we're asking the hard questions of ourselves,
Yeah.
and we're challenging them
Is that the right?
across
Yeah.
the board to figure out what is the best balance
Yeah.
that keeps me healthy, that
Yeah.
keeps me feeling better, that makes me mentally stronger, makes me a better parent,
Yeah.
a better performer at work, that I'm happier about myself.
Yeah.
Like across the board.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to just improve myself.
Right.
And it's this process of improvement that's leading me to where I'm at. And I think we all can kind of just think about like those, is what I'm doing making me better?
Right. And that's where I keep coming back to, I don't see it as a sacrifice. You know, if I'm going to take a week to put in all my maximum effort and be optimal, so that, and that sacrifice, that time sacrifice allows me to take a Saturday and go down to Boston with the kids and just have a fun, free, no stress, like I'm not worried about, oh, I didn't get these 10 things done this past week and I've got these 10 things coming this next week. If I can be truly present with the kids because I knew I put in the effort, and I know I'll put in the effort tomorrow,
Right.
but right now I can be present with these kids, makes the whole thing more enjoyable.
Right.
I will say though, in all of this that is worth mentioning, I love my profession and my career. It was, I feel like intentional. Like I chose this profession in oil and gas. I'm passionate about it. I don't have a lot of days where I wake up and think about doing something different. So that in of itself is a huge bonus for me.
Right.
And I know a lot of people are not in that situation at all. So I'm very fortunate to have that. But again, that goes back to why I tell my kids, I don't want to put stress on them to meet some sort of standard outcome.
Right.
I am very serious when I want you to find passion in your life in whatever form that comes, as long as it's in healthy pursuit. Like, well, Dad, I just want to sit on the couch and play video games all day. Like, okay, well, is that a healthy pursuit that
Right.
you are passionate about that is going to create personal growth? Probably not. But if the answer is like, I really want to do this kind of unconventional pursuit, and I'm going to give it all that I have, I'm going to pursue optimal, and I feel like I have a passion for this, awesome. And if it doesn't meet conventional mold, I'm fine with that.
Right.
If that means, like, if you can sit me down and explain to me why you don't want to go to college and what you want to do and why you want to do it,
Right.
you'll have my full support. Because the alternative is that you take on college debt that you didn't need, you go get a job that you don't like to pay that college debt just to please your parents, and then you're 40 years old, you hate what you do, and life has all the things we just talked about. Life has enough problems that will throw at you
Right.
to compound 8 hours of your day for 5 days a week doing something that you hate to do. That's a killer. I mean, that's an absolute killer. So I've been able to take that off the table. Is it stressful? Absolutely. But you and I know, like, stress is not a bad thing if you can manage it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Is it uncomfortable at times? Absolutely. I mean, I'm a type A personality. I want to always do better and get to the next level and grow the business. So that occupies my time and attention, but I love doing it. And so, you know, I in some ways, I'm in a lot of ways, I'm very blessed. Like, I love my job. I've got great health. I love my kids. I mean, I can say that sincerely, and I know a lot of people can't. So, you know, a lot of the typical stresses in life, I'm in a pretty good place at. I do spend a lot of time reflecting on, because I believe in determinism. Like, I believe that there's only one outcome in life. Everything's kind of predetermined, and so, am I just lucky and blessed, or did I make choices and have pursuits that have led me to this place that I love my career and I love my kids and I've got good health?
Right.
You know,
Right.
I mean, was there another outcome that could have actually existed in this universe? I don't think so. But that's also because I believe in the illusion of free will. So, you know, we think we have choice. Like, I can choose to raise this hand versus this hand, but there was also some program inside of me that compelled me to raise this hand versus that hand, and that program was kind of set early on by an environment that we had no control over. So Jeff Townge was going to be Jeff Townge regardless of what Jeff Townge did. That's kind of the way I look at life. And that actually is reassuring to me, because then you can meet yourself wherever you are. You're like, I'm not thrilled about, so name 5 things: family, career, health. Or 3 things. Name 3 things. Those are your 3 things that you want to address. You're not thrilled with those 3 things right now.
Right.
You know, maybe you made choices that led you to that point, but you can change them now. You know, you can't change the past, you can't really change the future, but you can change the present, is the way that I look at it. And I take comfort in that, knowing that I don't really think we have a lot of control over the outcomes, but we can be a willing participant in the process.
Right. So, in that whole thing, that's another podcast, I feel like. So,